Good evening, brothers and sisters. How are you all today? Good. 有没有乖乖？啊 ，no 啊。Some students in KMS, some devotees, they said this is a very powerful phrase. Yeah. In some ways, especially for kids, it's not too harsh. Yeah, it's very inviting for people to reflect, and at the same time, it's not too soft. Yeah, not too soft also. Doesn't make you feel like you're a sinner also, but it gets you to think. Have you been a good person, huh? Have you been 乖？有没有乖乖？ So I wanted to start off today's session to share with you all this. It's a continuation from where we stopped. So this is the application that we'll look at after today's session, and this is basically an application of the teaching so far. So far we have been looking at the principle, and to some extent then how that applies, how the principle of emptiness, the principle of dependent arising existence, how that applies to various aspects, various levels of our life. Yeah. Oh dear. Okay. Can someone borrow? Not borrow. Someone lend me your handout for a while. Okay. As you recall, last week I highlighted these three stanzas. Yeah, 不生不灭不垢不净不增不减. Remember? Yeah. And then from there, this gentleman here, are you here for the first time? No, You, yeah. You're here for the first time, Yeah. See, cannot caught by me. Well, welcome. We are on the. Is this the 5th or 6th lesson? 6th lesson, Yeah. Have you ever? Oh yeah. Don't take it personally. I like to joke sometimes. Have you all been to a movie like 2-hour movie? You go in at the 70th minute. Yeah, this is how you feel right now. We are now at page 13. Yeah, because I noticed that you are looking at the first page of the notes. Yeah, so I saw that the earlier lessons were put up on YouTube. I haven't been checking religiously, so at least the first lesson was put up. I don't know about the subsequent ones, so you may, after this, want to go and watch the earlier ones. It will give you some clue. So last week I gave you all the outline. Yeah, the outline, which is what we're going to cover today. This 不生不灭, okay, starting from here, 不生不灭, and how that relates to 是故空中无色无受想行识, yeah, and so on, all the way up to 乃至无老死亦无老死尽, yeah, up to this part. 无苦集, then from there, sorry, not the 无老死, up to 乃至无意识界. Okay, come. Okay, so today we're going to cover this section here. Vita, you may want to like sort of guide, yeah, or okay. Is there anyone who is here for the first time today besides him? Okay. So sister, please, or your sister, you catch up. Okay. Yeah, I know them, but you sure you're okay? Okay. Anybody else who is here for the first time? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, this section here, 不生不灭不垢不净不增不减, corresponds to page 17. So I'm going to go to page 17, and then we'll proceed from there. Yeah. So, anyway, no, sorry. How come it's page 7? Page 13 rather. Page 13. What was I thinking? Page 13. So, over here it says, Sariputra, all phenomena are marked with the nature of emptiness. That previously we have shared and learned about how all things compounded, dependent on conditions to arise, to exist, would hence be empty of inherent nature. Yeah? When we say that something is empty, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that it doesn't exist independently. Yeah? It doesn't have any inherent core that is unchanging. Yeah? There's nothing inner with any inner quality that is constant. No such thing. Yeah? When we say it's empty of this inner core. No inner core. Yeah? Everything is subject to change. That's what it means. So here it says, if there's something like that, then what can you say about it? So here it says, there's neither arising nor ceasing, there's neither impure nor pure, there's neither increase nor decrease. Yeah. So these three pairs, arising, ceasing, impure and pure, increase and decrease. Yeah. So in the text that follows, you will find that the first segment basically covers the 5 aggregates, the 12 domains, and the 18 elements. And what are these things? These are things that arise and cease. Yeah? These are things that appear to arise and appear to cease. Yeah? Things such as the 5 aggregates, which encompasses the 12 domains and in turn the 18 elements. Yeah? So all these things are things that have an apparent arising and ceasing. Yeah? Here it says there's neither arising nor ceasing. When we say that there's neither arising or ceasing, what does that mean? Now, if we were to sort of jump ahead and look at the text on page 15, 是故空中无色无受想行识。If in fact there's no arising and ceasing, then indeed things that arise and cease don't really exist the way we think. This part is basically trying to say that. Yeah? We think that there is substantial things that arise, substantial things that exist. Yeah? Inherent, substantial, unchanging things that is out there. Here it refutes all that. Yeah? It basically establishes that all those things in our life that we identify with that we see and perceive as permanent, as substantial, in fact, are not permanent and substantial. And that would include the 5 aggregates. It will include our senses and the sense object out there. It would even include all that plus our consciousness, which we have actually covered at length already in the first few lessons. So earlier on I mentioned about how we are up to the 4th and 5th lesson is only the first line. It's really to set the whole stage for what is to come. So this whole section here is nothing other than the 5 aggregates, the 12 bases, and the 18 elements. What are the 5 aggregates? Again, pop quiz time. What are the 5 aggregates? Forms, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These 5 things. Did you all try in your day-to-day, when you are taking the train, instead of seeing a lot of people, you just see forms, different colors. Do you try that? You can try it now. Just colors. Just look at colors. Red, blue, black, white. Can or not? A bit tough. There are many levels to do this. One way is to just reflect on this fact, that everything that is physical can be seen. But of course, in modern science, we define physical as occupying space, which air occupies, in which case air is invisible. So you realize that the way we define this world has changed over the centuries. The way the world was defined in the Buddha's time was slightly different. What we see as air today is usually defined as space, just space. In the Buddha's time, modern science was not so developed as well in the Western world. A lot of these concepts came much later. So, beyond mere reflection, there is also the actual practice. So on one level, you can just reflect upon it. The things that we are so familiar with, our family, our friends, or maybe even one step before that, our physical body. When you wake up in the morning, before you jump out of bed and wash up, just sit quietly and just observe yourself. What does this body comprises? Just do this reflection. And then when you go to the toilet and look at yourself in the mirror, just look at it. This is an exercise that all of us can do. And you can just do this simple exercise. Look at yourself and then focus on your left or right eye. Either one. If you just focus on your eye itself and look at it intently, and if you are able to just zoom in and focus on just the eye, what do you have? What do you have? Just the eye. Is there any more person there? It's just an eye. Understand? If you just... The good thing about this device, can you see the eye? Oh, it looks like the ring, Do you see Venerable Chuan there? Scary. Yeah, under certain conditions, it appears scary. So, if you go down and go down and go down, then you find that all the abstract physical things that we seem to perceive, yeah, are just nothing but very, very core physical items, yeah, colors. Yeah, from a visual point of view, just colors, nothing else. Yeah. But what about the physical sensation itself? How about the very elements itself? So this is something to reflect upon. Yeah. Last 2 weeks, we talked about water. So last week, a student asked me a question on email. Very good question, a follow-up of the question. The person asked about H2O. Do you all remember? Yeah. So here it says, within emptiness there's no forms, no feelings, no perception, no mental formations, and no consciousness. We should understand it as that it means there's no inherent, unchanging, substantial form, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Then zooming down into forms for a start, we can go down to how everything can be broken down into the 4 elements, or using modern terms, we can break it down into molecules. So last week we talked about the water molecule. Yeah? And the person asked the question, similar to the kway teow. Yeah? Previously we discussed about kway teow, that kway teow, whenever you have kway teow, it's always flat, thin and white. Yeah? So isn't it true that kway teow is inherently flat, thin and white? Yeah. And the same can be asked about water. So previously I mentioned, because kway teow itself is a convention that we define. So it's because we define it that way. Yeah. So it's not that kway teow exists just like that. It is that we define anything that is like that to be called kway teow. Hence, kway teow is always like that. It is by definition, we define it that way. Yeah. Without this convention, then kway teow can be anything. Yeah, kway teow can be anything. Yeah, but char kway teow, what is the color of char kway teow? Black, still white, Penang is white. I see. So in Penang it's white. In Singapore is the blacker it is, the better. Yeah, one could argue that that's why we call it char kway teow. It's not kway teow anymore. It all boils down to the fact that these are convention. But what about water? In much the same way, water is a convention that we use to label something that is like that. Yeah. So it is because we define water this way. It is not that water is always like this way. Yeah. If you look at water, it's basically oxygen and hydrogen. Yeah. It's basically just oxygen and hydrogen. Because oxygen and hydrogen is not inherently water, so given the different combination, it can become something else. Yeah? And this is what we call hydrocarbon. My chemistry teacher will be shedding happy tears. The fact that I can still remember this term, hydrocarbon. Yeah. Almost all, if not all, living organisms, plants and animals, all comprises large chunks of hydrocarbon. Yeah. And it's not just water in a sense. Yeah. But it's that H and O is part of the whole nature. Yeah? And yet, if you go deeper, I give it some thought. Yeah, I give it some thought about this. If you go deeper, within oxygen itself, what is the valency level of oxygen? Any chemists here? Okay, you have your proton, neutron inside here, and then you have your 2, and then your 4. Oxygen is, what is oxygen? Huh? All of you failed chemistry, huh? Oxygen? 2 minus. Valency is 2 minus. I have no idea. If you tell me 2 minus, I'll just write 2 minus. Okay, there's something here, okay? So there's electron, and of course the classical model is to draw orbits. But modern science says that in fact it's clouds, and there's this uncertainty principle. You cannot specifically say that the electron is here or there. Yeah, it's somewhere there, and there's a certain formula to calculate the probability of it being here or there. Yeah, and to tell you the formula, I will have to go and do a degree in quantum physics. Yeah, but today we know that several decades ago they split the nucleus into proton, neutron, and then they split it further into quarks. Yeah, and they split it further until today. They discovered that there's something called the boson particle. Yeah, is that the end? Nobody know. Yeah, nobody know. What it basically means is that if you look around, all of us, including the table and chairs, including the cushion, although everything looks so different, the fundamental building blocks are all similar. Yeah, all similar. Yeah, and then at the most fundamental, according to scientists. Now, one thing to note, I'm quoting a lot of science here because if you just go by the Buddhist teaching, it stops at the 4 elements. Yeah, and if you can take that, then that's good enough. Yeah, but I'm bringing science not to affirm Buddhism, yeah, but to suggest a different way of looking at it. Yeah, most of us will not be able to verify what I'm about to say, not directly anyway. You can verify by Googling. Okay, yeah, and if you Google, you'll find that most of the descriptions online now. There are many YouTube clips that do very good 5-minute description of what I'm saying here. Okay, what fundamentally all physical matter comprises is actually not physical matter. Yeah, it's energy. Yeah, what appears so solid here is basically nothing solid. There's a lot of empty space in between. Yeah, and then when they break it down to the boson particle, they've discovered that even the particle itself are not physical things. They just appear instantaneously and then disappear instantaneously. Yeah, you can, after the class, go and Google quantum physics and boson particle. Now, if I can simplify what I'm saying here, or simplify the whole process, then we say that, like, at the highest level, we have table, chairs, we have animal, we have plants. In a way, plants are lower than tables and chairs, because tables and chairs are made from some kind of the tree and whatever. So then below this level, we have what we call molecules. And then below this level, we have atoms. And below this level, we have electron, proton, neutron. Then below this level, the proton neutron is broken down into quarks and boson particles. So far so good? So far so good? So if you look at this, then it is similar to our laksa our laksa from the second lesson. Can you remember? Yes. Huh? Can or not? Yeah. So in the laksa example, we went through all the different conditions required, yeah, that dependent on all the conditions, then the tastiness exists. Then in one of the lessons, we went through all the ingredients required. Yeah, remember? Okay? And all those conditions in turn depend on other conditions. Yeah, so if we have laksa here, then we could say that laksa comprises the various ingredients, and the ingredients in turn have individual collection of molecules, which in turn have collection of atoms, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So far so good? So then, the question to ask everybody is the atoms in the laksa, does it have any laksaness? No, huh? Yeah? Likewise, the atoms in plants, yeah, does it have any plantness? Yeah. Molecules, you could argue and say yes, because all those molecules in plants, they have a certain structure. Yeah? But when you go further down, then you find that the plantness disappear. Yeah? If you go further down enough, all the abstract level upstairs all disappear. The abstract level up there all depends on the lower level, which has nothing to do with the upper level somehow. But when you put them together, somehow you have the upper level. Much like you have water, you have noodles, you have egg, you have crocker and whatever. By themselves, there's no laksa. You put them together in the right combination, plus heat, yeah, by a chef, then you have laksa. But yet you cannot find laksa in the constituent part. This is a recap of the principle of emptiness. Yeah? That throughout all the conditions, you cannot find any inherent nature. So, how about water? Yeah? Water is just one of these layers. It in turn depends on the different molecules to come together in that exact manner, then it's water. Yeah? But given the right conditions, it splits, yeah, into hydrogen and oxygen. It's no longer water. Yeah? But water, as defined by us, is always H2O. Yeah? But that's all because we define it that way. If there's no more human beings, then there's no more concept of water, and it's just the way it is. Understand? Yeah? Comprends pas? 了解不? Okay? Now, further to this, about maybe 20 years ago, in one of the perhaps retreat or class, or maybe Dharma talk, I remember Venerable Guan Ping, yeah, being one of the very early monastics in Singapore who entered university. He was one of the few local monastics who would sometimes mention about science, yeah, the comparison. And I remember him talking about something like that. But at that point in time, boson particle was not mentioned yet. And because they haven't done the LHC or LHC, the Large Hadron Collider experiment. It was done only a few years ago. So in those days, he mentioned about quartz. Here I want to highlight something. Why are we pursuing this train of thought? Yeah? Why are we learning this principle of dependent arising existence and emptiness? Do you know why? For yourself, your own reason. Don't give me the model answer. Why do you want to learn this? Yeah. Or maybe you can try to give the model answer. Why do you think the Buddha highlighted this? The Buddha knows many things. Yeah? But in one of the sutta called the Simsapa leaf, the Simsapa Sutta, in this sutta, the Buddha grabbed a leaf, handful of leaves, and he asked the monks, in this Simsapa forest, the handful of leaves, is it more or less than the leaves in this Simsapa forest? Which is more? The forest. A hand. Forest. Forest is more than the hand. And the Buddha said, in the same way, the knowledge that the Tathagata have is more compared to what he has taught you. And why? Because only that much is required and is applicable to your liberation. So this is something important to keep in mind. Yeah? Including when we learn any teachings, not just for this sutra, but any teachings. You must always come back to, okay, what's the purpose? Yeah? If we look at that, then the purpose of learning dependent arising existence and emptiness is for us to understand reality better, and ultimately to see it clearly. And by seeing that indeed there is nothing that is constant, that everything is impermanent, dependent on conditions, and there's nothing inherent out there, then what are we grasping onto? And that's the key thing. What are we grasping onto? What are we fighting over? What are we getting upset over? What are we elating over? Yeah? When in fact it's all this transient state of existence. Yeah? This transient, dependent, arising state of existence. Now in this context, then it's important to ask ourselves, what are we grasping onto? I have written down here table, chairs, animal, plants, laksa. Are you all attached to any of these things? Maybe some, but these are very trivial things, isn't it? Tables and chairs. Are you all attached to these things? Depends. For some of you, maybe you are attached to some tables or chairs because of some sentimental value. Yeah? Animals, for most animals, most of us are not attached to them. Yeah? But if it's our pets, oh yes, we are attached to them. Yeah? Only if you identify them as yours, then you are attached to it. Plants, are we attached to them? It depends. Again, it depends. Yeah? So we can list down a lot of things, but you find that different people relate to them differently. But let's look at something that's more common. Me. Not me, but me as in all of you. Okay? Yeah. Whether it's attachment to ourselves or others, are we attached at the atomic level? Are you attached to your friends in terms of the atoms in the body? Any of you? How about the electrons? And it's like you meet a friend and oh, you don't look too well today. How is your electrons doing? Are you missing some electrons? We don't relate to each other in that way, isn't it? Yes. attached in a sense of, yeah, not literally holding. Very good point. Yes, you can be attached to something at home now. Huh? Isn't it? Yeah. A lot of people are attached to their money, which they almost never see. Yeah. It's just some numbers in the bank. Yeah. And sometimes when the whole market has collapsed, like recently, which country in Europe? Just Greece, right? Yeah. So there was this couple in US on a honeymoon, and moments before they wake up in the morning and try to use their credit card, they'll still happily, without nary a worry or thought about their bank account. But the moment that they try to use their credit card, boom, and the hotel kicked them out. Yeah. Why? Because the money has disappeared. The bank devalued until it closed down. Yeah, closed up. So yes, we can be attached to things that we cannot substantially hold on to as well. Yeah. But if we come back to ourselves and others, we know that we don't fundamentally operate at this level. Yeah, boson particles. How many of you have heard of boson particles before? Okay, a couple of us, yeah? How many of you have seen boson particles before? Actually, no one in this world have ever seen before. What they have seen is the trace, yeah? The trace of the particle going through the field, yeah? It's a very elaborate thing, and so they just see the shadow puff, yeah? Through the mist or something. They don't literally see with their eye because it's just too small. Photons, complicated. Suffice to say that none of us are attached to this. Electrons, no. Atoms, no. Molecules, anyone? Yeah. Even chemists, yeah. If you think about it, even chemists who deal with all this on a daily basis, when they deal with their friends and colleagues and family, they don't look at their wife and say, "Hello dear, how is your hydrocarbon?" Yeah, they don't. So at what level do we operate at? What level? At a very external, at a very macro level, isn't it? Yeah, very macro level. This is what I observed over the years. When I was in US, or rather, let me start from before I was in US, because this will give you some background that's related to where most of us are now. Way before I ordained, I also read a lot of books, and many times there would be books and talks talking about 5 aggregates or so. And for the most part, you're like, yeah, 5 aggregates, yes. Yeah, form, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Oh, yes. Yeah. And for the most part, it was just, okay, it's like that, makes sense. Then when we were in US, in the monastery, in that setting, we would do a lot of contemplation on this. Yeah? And go down to very minute observation of ourselves and others. Yeah? So you start to see this a bit, I wouldn't say in full clarity, okay, but a bit more in depth. So when I came back and I started sharing, I would just share at that level, and I would just keep talking about 5 aggregates. I would just keep talking about the 12 domains and 18 elements. In fact, a common conversation whenever devotees come to talk to me, would be, I will ask them, do you meditate? Do you do the reflection on no self? And they're like, what? Yeah. Then over the years, I realized that whenever we go into the sutra, sometimes you may find that there's like a bit of a disconnect. Yeah? What kind of disconnect? When we talk about the 5 aggregates, most of us, not to mention the molecules, even 5 aggregates, which are a bit more higher level in a way, most of us don't operate on a daily basis in that way. Yeah? Just because we are Buddhists, do we say, hey, hello, 5 aggregates, which is of this nature and that pattern, and we don't operate in this way. Yeah? We don't. We just call each other by the name, which is a very high level abstraction. We refer to ourselves and others in a very abstract level. And so, what I observe is that as a result, whenever we come to the teachings, it seems to have a disconnect. And so when the Buddha say that there's no self, that within the 5 aggregates you cannot find any permanency. You cannot find anything that is permanent, that is substantial, that is everlasting, that you can call me. Conceptually, okay, but then when you try to apply it, then there's a disconnect. And I suspect this is part of the reason, because we are operating at a very high level. Yeah? High doesn't mean better, okay? High in the sense that it's more abstract, built on top of lower layers. Yeah? If you consider this list here, where do we stand? Physically, we are equivalent to an animal, We are, yeah. But when we relate to each other, is it at this level? No. We are above this. Above this in the sense that we form social constructs. Okay? And today I want to go a bit into that. This social construct. If you all can have a piece of paper in front of you, then we can start doing this exercise. In a piece of paper, I want you to write your name in the center. So, I'm going to write down my name here. And then below it, you write down my, me, mine, and myself. In some of the sutras, the translation is mine, me, or myself. So whichever way you wish, okay? In the Chinese sutra, the agamas, the translator group them. They group them as 我所 我所 So it's me and whatever belongs to me. Me and my possessions. 我所拥有 我所拥有 我跟我所 Okay? Got it? Okay. So then draw a very nice oval around it. Looks like a potato. So there are a few different charts that we can draw. Okay, the first one that I want to go through is called who slash what am I? Who slash what am I? Yeah, meant to be a question. So if I ask myself this question, who or what am I? I want you all to answer for me. Yeah? Answer for me literally, and I will write down the answer, taking me as an example. Then you ask yourself that question, and you answer yourself that question. So who am I? Okay, 师父, monk. I heard monk first. Okay, so there's monk. And then there's 师父. What else? Huh? Sorry? My actual name? No, louder? My actual name? No? Oh, okay. My name, huh? Okay. Okay, it's already here. VCG, Venerable Chuan Guan. Huh? Louder, sorry? I'm from Pokat C. Okay. Let me write Pokat C somewhere. What else? A male, a man. Okay. What else? A teacher. Teacher also can be considered 师父 lah, huh? Okay lah. What else? Yes, I'm a son. What else? A brother. What else? Am I a sister? No. Huh? Children? Child, son slash child. Yeah, so we can have the nephew. Yeah, can be uncle, brother-in-law, and so on and so forth. All the, okay, friend. I'm a friend. Okay. Yes, I'm a student. What else? I'm nobody. Really? Who am I? I'm nobody. Okay, let's explore. Okay. Yeah. What else? Huh? Disciple, no? Student. Okay. Disciple, student. Singaporean. Yes. Count on me, Singapore. Okay, Singaporean. I'm a Chinese, yes. I'm healthy. Okay. Okay, suffice. This is what I am, or who I am. So this is also called the roles, the different roles we play. Yeah, or different states. States of roles that define us. Yeah? Are you all able to do that for yourself? Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. It didn't take long, isn't it? Yeah? I'll give you 5 minutes. If there's anyone who need assistance, just raise your hand and I'll come over. How many of you have finished? Okay, we'll go on for just a while more. You have 2 minutes left. You may not leave the hall now. Those who have finished, please double check your answers. Okay? Alright, so take a look at the list that you have. This is, if you look at this list, it may or may not be exhaustive, meaning that it may not include everything that you have been. Yeah? For example, this list is more or less what you know about me. Yeah? And it covers pretty much all the roles that I currently play. Yeah? But how about the other roles that I have played before? Is that still a part of me? Is that still who I am or not? Yeah? Presumably here student can include both myself as a student now and also myself as a student in the past. But in the past I also worked in various roles. So I was an engineer, I was a consultant, I was also a stacker. Do you all know what is a stacker? Those who stack things. Yeah. I remember when I was in, where was I? After JC, before I entered the army, I worked in Ying Bao Liang. Do you all know Ying Bao Liang Emporium? Very old brand, gone already. In Singapore, it's gone. I also worked in a fast food restaurant as a crew. I worked in a Korean restaurant as a waiter before. I worked in a computer shop selling stuff. Yeah. So all those are roles that I've played before. Yeah. Likewise, if you look at your own chart, this is what we call a simple mind map. Yeah, first level mind map. So if you look at the chart, many times when I do this exercise with people, they may write down things that are closest to them. In this case, these are the things that's closest to you as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So to most of you, you relate to me first as a monk, as a sifu, then as a man, then as a teacher, a son, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And because most of you may not know that I was an engineer and so on, much less a stacker, so it doesn't come to you. Yeah. So the question is then, without all this, is this still me? Yeah? Is this still me? By ignoring the past, yeah, the past roles that I've played before, all these roles, if I just take monk, is that me? Is that me? How many of you would say yes? How many of you say no? How many of you don't know? If you say that monk totally defines who I am, then all these roles don't exist. But it is a fact that I'm a Singaporean. So one could argue that I'm a Singaporean monk, yeah, who is also a shifu and a man and a teacher and a son, who is also a nephew and brother, an uncle and a friend, and who happen to be a disciple and a student. But that's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. So we give all this collection a simpler way to refer to as Venerable Chuan Guan. In fact, if you think about it, if you just take monk and try to define me purely as a monk, it may not be totally sufficient. Because to my parents, they will always see me as a son. Yeah? To some of my friends from the past, like recently I caught up with some friends from P1. Yeah. So while on Facebook they see that my face and my profile is, and I told them that I'm a monk, they still call me by my lay name. Well, initially when I came back to Singapore, my ex-colleagues, some of them also call me by my lay name. And I was having a hard time grappling around that. I was like, should I correct them or should I not correct them? If I correct them, am I being attached to the label? And then I thought, in the Buddha's time, people even called the Buddha Gautama, which is his family name. Yeah? Yeah, not all of them call them the Blessed One. Yeah? Only after learning about his teaching, then they consider him blessed, and they would refer to him as the Blessed One. Only when they learn from him and find that he is so awakened, then they call him the Buddha. Yeah? But today we assume that that is the norm. Yeah? And we assume that when you come and see a monk, you have to call us by a certain name. Yeah? So to me, it's a very interesting learning experience as well. Who am I? What am I? Yeah? As much as this role is there, but how about the other roles? Yeah? So likewise for yourself. Can you be defined solely by one of them? Perhaps one could say that when I'm at work, I'm just that, you know? Yeah? But you're not at work all the time. Then if you consider, let's see, Shifu. Okay, Shifu and teacher is very close. Yeah? So, what are the conditions? Are there conditions required for me to be a monk? Are there conditions for me to be a Shifu, a man or a teacher? Now we go to the second level. There are conditions required, isn't it? Yeah? For a person to become a monk, you must first be a man. Yeah? You must be a man. In Europe, somehow they like to use the monk and female monk. Yeah, I don't quite understand the vernacular there, but they somehow refer to females, you know what we call nuns, they just somehow say female monk. Yeah, and some of them feel that that is equal rights. Yeah, if man can be a monk, woman can be a monk also. That's like saying woman must be called man also, just to be equal. So I don't know. But in our part of the world, it's simpler. A monk has to be a man, a nun must be a woman. Any of you support the BLGT, LBGT movement? So please don't argue with me about this, okay? Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, LBGT matters for the bedroom, nothing to do. Anyway, there's a whole Dharma talk about it. So what else is required for a person to be a monk? Running through quickly. You need to have preceptors, you need to have the whole whole group of monks, either 5 or 10, depending on where you are. If you are in a place where there is Buddhism well established, then you need 10 other monks to ordain you. If it's like in the outskirts, yeah, where there's not so many Sangha members, then you need only 5. This is an allowance that the Buddha gave. Besides that, what is required? Okay, I'm going to just give the answers just to speed things up a bit. So you need to have, in this case, I'm a Buddhist monk, so I need the Buddha Dhamma to be around. Yeah, the Buddha Dhamma that the Buddha taught. Yeah. So far so good. Yeah. One could go into the requisites. You need the requisites in order to be ordained, because the Buddha said that the 4 requisites. Yeah. So you need your robes, you need your belt, you need the alms bowl, and so on. All those things. So far so good. How about for me to be a shifu? Yeah. How about for me to be a teacher? Like currently, I'm playing the role of a teacher. Yeah. So I will teach. Agree? Yeah. Is this ability to teach? Is this role inherent in me? No. What is required? Raise your hand. Raise your hand so I can. I need to have knowledge. What else? What else? Experience. What else? Yes. Huh? Volition. Okay. Okay. The volition to teach. So this is more about the ability, and this is about the will to teach. Okay. What else? Good health. Yes. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Good health. Passion. Huh? Very good. You need students. Yeah. So we have volition and passion, the willingness to teach, and then you actually need a very crucial piece of the puzzle, which is student. In some strange way, I will tell you, in some strange way, you don't really need knowledge or experience. Yeah, because there are people who, even if you don't have, there are people without experience nor knowledge, but they are very eager to teach, you know. Chinese have a saying called 好为人师. Yeah, so very eager to teach. But as long as you have willing victims, you can be a teacher. Yeah. But so this of course, without knowledge or experience, that will make you an incompetent teacher. Yeah. Without volition or passion, that will make you an unwilling teacher. Yeah. But without student, can you be a teacher? You can't. Yeah. This is a very crucial, if not critical, condition. Yeah. In Kongming-san, I often highlight this. Yeah. Because in my class, I wouldn't just stare blankly at the wall and just teach. I would look at people and ask questions. Yeah. And sometimes I'll walk around. So I asked them, I said, if I were to do this, while none of you are here, I will not be considered a teacher. I will be a mad person. So this process of speaking by itself is not teaching also. This is merely just speech, just words, just sound. I'm just making sound, you know. Yeah. So if you don't learn, it's not my fault. I've done what I can do. Yeah. By being here, you form part of the equation. Yeah. So a lot of conditions required. A lot of conditions required. Yeah. But as far as teaching is concerned, the teacher is concerned, yeah, this is the bare few sets of conditions. Now, several years back, when I was in the US, I had this very interesting conversation with my senior monk, 知道法师. So while we are in the car going back to the monastery, he commented, he said, now in future you may give teachings, and then some of the students may understand what you teach. Yeah? Do not, as a result, become proud, thinking that, oh, what a good job, what an excellent teacher you are. Do not think in this way. Because for them to learn, you are just part of the conditions. They must be able to learn. They must have the conditions to learn. There are many other conditions required for them to learn. You are just part of the condition. The Buddha himself even wondered, even had this question, are there those who can understand this sublime truth, sublime teaching? Only when there are those with little dust in their eyes, then can there be teaching. The reverse is also true. Yes. So on one hand, if you are able to learn, if you find that, wow, this class is wonderful, you can learn a lot of things, I don't take full credit, just partial. But the reverse is true. My senior monk told me, he said, if on the other hand, you teach and they can't understand what you are teaching, they cannot learn, don't blame yourself. You are just part of the conditions. Now this is something that I have since then repeated to many people. And it stems from this teaching on dependent arising existence and emptiness. Many parents take it so strongly upon themselves. I've mentioned in past lessons. Yeah? If only we reflect more on this, then we will learn to, take things as it is. Yeah? Teacher, how about son or child? I need my parents to be a son. Without my parents around, am I a son? No. Some of you are parents. Without your children around, are you a parent? No, isn't it? Only in name. Only legally you are, in terms of relation, yes. Only when you think of your child, then you are a parent. Yeah? Think about it. Yeah, so it's always in relation. Yeah? Dependent on others, then those different roles arise. And we can go on throughout, and you'll find that each of these may have different sets of conditions. Different sets of conditions. Some of them may have intertwined conditions. Some of them may depend on each other. Yeah? Now, and based on what we have learned so far, if something depends on conditions to exist, then we say that it is empty of inherent nature. Now, this is a statement I've been repeating. If this surprises you, I can't help you. Please refer to the past 5 lessons YouTube video. So, that being the case, our identity as this, is hence empty. And very empty, because even the conditions in turn are dependent arising are also empty. Isn't it? Huh? So what are we? We are really nobody, huh? That's why when I saw this book, No Ajahn Chah, exactly. When I was in Myanmar, training under Chenme Sayadaw, and listening to the talks every few days in the evening, there was one time he mentioned, as you observe intensively, repeatedly, intently, and so on, you label it, then one day you observe that beyond the mind and body, there's no me, you, person or a being. When I heard that, I was all electrified. I was like, that's Diamond Sutra. That is the Diamond Sutra. 无我相, 人相, 众生相, 寿者相. I mean, not exact words, some part of it. But you see how the teachings come together? In this teaching, we talk about emptiness. But if you apply emptiness on our identity, then that is what we call no self. Yeah? No self, the Buddha's teaching on anatta, is basically a specific application of emptiness on our identity. Yeah? That's what it is. When the Buddha says no self, in the sutra, it is often at the lower substrate level, going straight down to the core, straight down to 5 aggregates. Yeah? The Buddha don't go at the very high abstract level. Perhaps it's because all of us have different roles to play. Yeah? But within all these roles, there is the 5 aggregates, isn't it? Yeah? So by deconstructing the 5 aggregates, he basically solved all problems at one go. So this is not meant to replace the classical approach to reflection on no self. Okay, not meant to be a replacement. This is a supplementary. It is supplementary and complementary to that classical approach. Yeah, but do you see where this is going? Yeah, the roles that we play collectively is what we identify to or identify with as me, who we are. Yeah. But if you look at these roles, none of the roles are independently existing. Yeah? Subject to change. When conditions changes, these roles changes. Now, even if you all don't mind, let's say I suddenly become a mother, okay? Yeah, this becomes funnier. So, in order for me to be a mother, what is required? Children. Yeah? Children. As long as your children are around, you are mother. But besides that, using mother as an example, the role of a mother changes. Changes. How many of you are parents? Raise your hand. Okay? So consider this. When your child was newly born, yeah, what is the role of yourself as a parent? Before your child was born, what was the role of yourself as a parent? As your child goes through the months and the years, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, from newborn to 1 year old, there are so much changes. Initially, our role is to literally make sure that our child stay alive. Yeah? When the child is resting, we cannot rest. We must make sure that we go and check if there's no sound for a while. Because sometimes the baby, pop, and then, yeah, because babies at a young age, they don't have enough strength to flip themselves. So, yeah, a lot of kids, unfortunately, yeah, suffer in that way. Yeah. And all it takes is just a few minutes that you don't go and attend to the child. The child is bye-bye, you know. But as the child grow up, do you still need to do that? No. Yes, sir. Who said that? But in a strange way, what she said is not entirely false, you know. I remember when I was in my 20s, even late 20s, before I become a monk, late at night when it's raining, my room, the door opens up here, and there's this toilet here, and there's this wardrobe, and my bed is here with all the windows, and I'm a person who can really go into deep sleep very quickly. So in the middle of the night when it rains, I would leave the window open, and when it rains, like my whole blanket will be wet, the bed is wet, I'm sleeping. And then my parents will come in. So in some ways, parents, I suspect it's because over the years they become so used to that role. They forget that the child has grown up. Unwittingly, we become attached. We become sometimes attached. Attached seems to be an active participation. But I suspect sometimes the attachment is so deep-rooted that I would prefer to use another term. We get used to the role. When you get used to it, you just do it without thinking, by default. It's not that you have to consciously, I do this. But you just do it already, You're so used to it. We get used to roles. Initially, we are not used to it. Initially, when a person first gets married, not so used to it. Now I'm a husband, now I'm a wife. Then the wife expects a child, and then, now I'm a father, now I'm a mother. Not so used to it. But gradually, you get used to it. And then when you get used to it, you forget that the role is also changing. The role is also changing. I've counseled some families where the child is no longer a child. There was this lady whom I counseled, and the way she described the relationship was almost like a teenager relationship. And I didn't want to guess her age, and then when I asked about the father's age, 70 plus, 80 years old. So I'm like, how old are you? 50 plus. But the father still relate to her like as though she's a teenager. And she behaved like a teenager to the father, unfortunately. Then there are those that are younger. Many of us, when our kids reach their teens, then it's very hard to accept that now, out of 10 times when you tell them about something, they challenge you 11 times. Why? Because the next time you say something, they also challenge. And they don't always agree with you. In Chinese, we have this saying, 翅膀长硬了. The wings are getting hard. This phrase, the 翅膀长硬了, I recently have a deeper appreciation for this phrase. Typically, this phrase is used in a negative connotation to indicate that someone who is supposed to be like obedient and respectful is no longer that way. But I suspect this phrase has another meaning. In fact, for birds, mother and father birds, they would hope that the child 翅膀要长硬. Because otherwise, that means the baby chick, cannot be independent. Have you seen Discovery Channel where the baby bird from the tree top, that's meant to happen. It's supposed to go through this passage, And then through that, repeated falls, and then the mother will pick it up again and go up there. Have to go through that. It's eventual. And this change, unfortunately, sometimes eludes us. Eludes us. We have gotten so used to our role as a mother with respect to maybe a 3-year-old son or daughter, or 5-year-old, and 10 years old, and 12 years old, and 15-year-old. This whole accumulation, the different roles of a mother until they are 30 years old, until they are 40 years old. Some of us manage to move on to adopt new roles, others harder. So which is you? Which mother is you? Which father is you? Which child is you? In a way they are all you, but in a way none of it is you. Because the moment you say that is you, then the rest is not you, because they are different. When the Buddha said no self, he was perhaps alluding to that given the right conditions, then we play certain roles. And at that point in time, conventionally we say that is who we are. But once the conditions have changed, then that role disappears. But if you get so used to it, and you hold on to that role, then you'll be in trouble. Then be in trouble. Because then that's where conflict will happen. Conflict will happen. Friction will happen. You'll be disconnected. Especially to the one whom you are relating to. To your child, to your friend, to your husband, to your wife, to your parents. The fortunate thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. Phew. We can look at this chart and do some reflection and think about the fact that all these roles are always changing, and because we have played different roles at different times, and we are still around. So there's no need to hold on to one role, like as though this is the only thing that matters. In Japan, in the past how many years, there have been many studies about how a lot of the, what they call the salary men, when they reach retirement age, a lot of them just plunge into depression. Some attribute it to the fact that they define themselves solely based on their ability to work. In fact, in some of the periods where there are crises in Japan, some of them lost their job, but they just go to work every day, or at least appear to go to work, just to put up the front. There's so much suffering, because not just themselves, but the whole society, the whole family expects that this is who you are. You must be a worker. Even when they lose their job, they continue to just put on the attire and briefcase and go somewhere, And some of them, there's this culture of staying up late, staying back late. So even when they finish work, they must not go back so early. So it's a whole series, whole package of identity. Now imagine yourself living in this way from your 20s to your 30s, 40s, 50s, up to 60s. You're talking about good 3, 4, 5, 6, 40 years of conditioning. And then overnight, boom, okay, congratulations, you have retired, this is your pension. And people just lose suddenly this huge chunk of themselves. Why? Because maybe for them, the person is a middle level management, manager. And somehow if a person look at themselves and just say, I'm a manager, and overnight you are retrenched or you have retired. If a person do not see that there are so many roles they play, but only see these as who they are, this is what will happen when you suddenly lose your job. And before you lose your job, this is why people are so stressed, they don't want to lose their job. Not just, now, it is true that many of us would have financial responsibility as well. But a lot of the stress is not just from financial responsibility. It's also with the fact that many people identify so strongly with the role they play at work that you take that away, they just wonder who they are. And that's why I think there's a lot of relevance in the Buddha's teaching on no self. Yeah? It helps us to have a clearer look at ourselves. Who are we? What are we attached to? Instead of saying that when we look at this phrase, no self, it is almost like a negation of something there. Yeah? But if you apply this in terms of the teaching on emptiness, then there's no inherent self. There's no permanent, everlasting identity that you can call self. But this ever-changing different roles that come and go, come and go. Now in this room, what are you? Student. And if you are worried about your child, then you cannot play the role well. Yeah? If you are still, sometimes when we conduct the novice retreat, some participants, Shifu, can you don't have confiscate my handphone? I still need to reply to some emails. I'm like, well, make up your mind. Do you want to come and be a novice monk or do you want to continue to do your work? Yeah? But on a daily basis, we struggle with that, isn't it? Yeah? At work, we struggle with the fact that we still have our responsibility at home. And sometimes when we come back home, we bring along that role. But this is not to blame any of us, Yeah, because can you imagine, in the 24 hours we have, yeah, in the 24 hours we have, from the time we wake up and then maybe most of us start work at 8:30 or 9, and then we spend, I don't know, maybe 10 hours. Yeah? 9 to 10 hours. In many cases, 12 hours. I have friends in audit, crazy. Yeah? When it's the peak season, 16 hours, 18 hours. When you are in that role for so long, can you be blamed for being so used to it that you bring it over? You cannot help it, Yeah. But then, because of that, then it affects other parts of our life. I remember when I was really young, and my mom would really cringe for me saying this. But I remember once, my mom had always been a housewife, except for 2 years when I was in secondary school. And I remember, out of the blue, one day I was just frustrated about things, and one day I just said, stop treating us like your staff. Yeah, it was so, now that I'm thinking about it, it's so odd, Yeah. But perhaps it was because her role at work was spilling over. And now when I counsel a lot of the families who come to us, I see that happening. Yeah? Parents have expectations of their child as though they are setting down some KPI, which to me sometimes is good, yeah, to give your child the drive, but sometimes it's not realistic. I have parents who tell me that they are disappointed, that she's disappointed with the son for not making the right decision. And she said she got this whole stack of assessment books for her son to do. And then after a month, she checked again. Only a few pages was done. She was so upset, wanted to throw the whole stack away. That sounds like work, isn't it? Yeah, you give your staff some work to do, and you check after 1 month and you never do. And then, as I was writing the notes, as I'm talking to her, counseling her, I was like, wait, when was this? Holidays. And how old is your son again? At that point in time, her son was in P1. That's where my jaw dropped. And then I leaned back and I'm like, look, you know, Shifu honestly decided that, yeah, I have to study when I was in year 2 of university. What do you expect your son at P1 to say, Mommy, yeah, I should study? Honestly, if you know of anyone who is a young parent and then worrying about the child at P1 and whatever, tell them, Chuan Guan Fa Shi, year 2, university, then got it straightened out, you know. Because if your child at P1 tell you, Mommy, I have run out of assessment book, can you get me more? You should be concerned. At P1, your child should be just like how a child should be, wanting to play. I mean, I don't know, you know. I think kids should be allowed to be kids. Yeah. Now, not to suggest that all these expectations are just purely due to our work. Yeah. But it's a combination. And it's important to realize that we have so many rules. And again, I must highlight, I cannot highlight often enough, we cannot blame any of you for reacting this way. Yeah? But the first step is to realize that, hey, this is happening. Then we have to be more cautious. Yeah? Before we leave work, before we reach back home, to really reset ourselves. Yeah? Perhaps before you leave the office, go to the toilet and look at yourself. Okay, no more office roles. Yeah? Yeah? No more office roles. Before you step back into your house, to remind yourself, now I'm going to adopt the role of a husband, a wife, yeah? A son, a daughter, and so on. Yeah? Remind yourself. Just a gentle reminder. And don't be too hard on yourself if you forget. Many Buddhists, after learning the Dharma, initially they have one problem, the problem that they face. After learning the Dharma, they have two problems. The problem and being upset with themselves for not doing the right thing. Now, beyond what we have shared so far, there's more. If you look at all these roles, are there other roles in this world that is not listed here? Of course there are. In principle, any role that has ever been played before by anybody is open to us, as long as it's a human role. Like, you cannot say, Shifu, I'd like to be a frog tomorrow. Yeah, I can't really help you with that. Although they say that yeast, yeast share about 80% DNA with human beings. But it will take a lot of complicated science to make you into yeast. Not that anybody wants to be a frog, okay? The point is that any role out there is actually open to us. And this is where it becomes exciting. When we talk about emptiness, we tend to think about negation. But emptiness is both. Because nothing is inherent, it means that nothing is fixed. That means the roles that we play currently is not who we are, but dependent on conditions. And given the right conditions, we can play other roles. 13 years ago, before I became a monk, this was not in my life. It was not even a choice. Or rather, 15 years ago. But after the first novice retreat that I attended, suddenly my worldview, boom, expanded. Boom. Now I have one more option. I have met many people when whenever they are asked to help in something or to do something, the most natural answer that many of us will hear is, I don't know. That seems to be the natural default that many people have, the answer, I don't know. And more often than not, then the subsequent result, the result is, okay, look for somebody else. Now, I do not want to suggest that I know why people say that. Yeah? But I do know that when each time we say, I don't know, or I can't do it, we are basically limiting ourselves to the roles that we currently play, and not fulfilling the potential that we have. Because all roles are dependent arising, all roles are open to us. We have so much potential. And one of the potential is, can somebody guess? Huh? Yes. To become a Buddha, to be an Arahant. We're currently not enlightened, no problem. Yeah? Given the right conditions, dun, in the Chinese tradition, in the Mahayana tradition, this is called the Buddha nature. Yeah, the Buddha nature. The potential in all sentient beings to be completely free of attachment, to be able to love and care without attachment. While each day when we try to care for our family and friends, sometimes we try very hard but we fail. We fail again and again. Then we get disappointed with us and we feel bad about ourselves. Yeah? And we may even end up having self-loathing. We feel that we are unworthy. Yeah? Huh? Does every problem have a solution? This in mathematics is called the PN problem or NP problem. Yeah, I'm serious, I'm not kidding you. No solution. Yeah. Scientists haven't found an answer to that question. Yeah. Yes. How to make the disconnection? Oh yes, it's very difficult. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. Don't let go. Have I explained to you all about why you shouldn't let go? Have I explained to you all? I have, right? Yes or no? Yeah, we don't let go. We shouldn't try to let go. Yeah, unenlightened beings don't let go. Enlightened beings also don't let go. But they don't let go for different reasons. Enlightened beings don't let go because they see that there's nothing to hold on to. So there's no hold, no grasping, no attachment to begin with. So they don't need to let go. It is just like if we don't smoke, if we are non-smoker to begin with, do you need to apply effort to, Dunhill, Rothman? I'm quoting the brands from a long time ago because not that I smoke, but my father used to smoke. So, yeah. But as a non-smoker, you don't need to put in effort. Yeah. Or even for those who have completely quit smoking, when they are still smoking, they have to try very hard to stop smoking. But once they have gotten over it, there's no need to try anymore. So enlightened ones there's no letting go. For us, there's also no letting go, because we haven't seen seen things clearly. If you don't see things clearly, it will seem to be something so tangible, so real, so valuable, so lovely. It's lovely, isn't it? The things that we have around us, of course it's lovely, that's why we get bounded by it. Yeah? And that's why, if you look at the Buddhist practices, there's no, Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right action, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Yeah? There's no part about right letting go. Yeah? And it's not just semantics, okay? It's the fact that you don't go and force yourself to let go. The whole process leads to right, direct seeing. It is only when you see clearly the things that you are attached to. In fact, in various sutras, the Buddha highlighted, go and see what you are infatuated with. Have a closer look. But not just that. Whatever you are averse to, go and have a closer look. It's because the things that we are infatuated with, we are swimming in our own perception. We don't really see what is outside also. The things we are averse to, we also don't see what is outside because we just close our eyes, don't want. So, now, it may not seem intuitive or apparent, but that's really the answer. Yeah, it's through direct seeing to go and take a closer look. But I agree with you, it's not easy, but not impossible. Are we attached to things that we are most lacking of? It depends. There are those with a lot of money, but they are attached to it. Yeah. And in some ways, precisely because you have a lot, then you become even more attached to it. Perhaps more, so it depends. Yeah. Huh? How to be... I prefer... Because to become unattached. How to become unattached? To what? To money. So using position as an example, this is what worked for me. In the first retreat, the first novice retreat that I attended, I remember that it was during one of the rest hour, and then among the novices, we were having some discussion and sharing. Now, before I continue, to set your expectations right, this worked for me. At the right condition, it worked for me. Don't expect this statement to work for you also, because your conditions may not be ready. So one of them shared this teaching, that the Buddha said, in all the past lives we've been through, since beginningless times, we have been born as a god. We have been born in various realms, as a human, as a hungry ghost, as an asura, in hell realm, as an animal. As a human being, we have been born as a king, as a queen, as a prince, as a pauper, as a good person, as a bad person, so many roles. Whatever role we are playing now, what is the big deal of doing it one more time? Considering the fact that potentially, we would have played the role of a king. Surely a king is better than whatever I was doing. The description of heavenly beings is far more supreme than whatever work I was doing. So that worked for me. And at that moment, I knew in my heart that whatever work I was doing, I was a consultant at that point in time, I knew in my heart it doesn't have a hold on me anymore. It may not work for you. For me, that was all that was needed. In much the same way, when Venerable Sariputra heard the verse, 此有故彼有，此无故彼无，我佛大沙门常作如是说. He heard this verse and he attained Sotapanna. But I've repeated this to many people so many times. I'm not. So I know for myself that when the conditions are right, just a very simple verse, it just click and yes. So for me at that point in time, but some could argue, well, Sifu, you are just a consultant, so big deal, Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Big deal, consultant. Buddha was a prince, Yeah, there's this monk from was it KL? He's the son of a multi-billionaire, and he just, But there are those who are attached to even lesser things. So attachment is not so much about how big that thing is, If there's attachment, there's attachment. As they say, one man's food is another man's poison. Yeah. Beauty is an eye of the beholder. Yeah. So it's not easy nor possible to simply try to find one statement that will work for you. Yeah. It's through repeated reflection. Yeah. You may find that if you do this reflection often, at a later stage, when you come back to the same statement, you have a deeper appreciation. And one day, that appreciation will culminate in the release. And you will find that, no problem. Anybody find that you are not attached to your job anymore? Now, you must make a distinction, okay? The financial responsibility versus your attachment to it personally. Yeah? There's a distinction. Yeah. So, to sum up here, this is an application of the teaching on emptiness and dependent arising existence. This, when applied on our identity, is what we call no self. Yeah? No self. The implication is that if you look at all the roles that we play, none of it totally define who we are. Yeah? That being the case, then it should help us to relate to the roles that we currently play in a more balanced way. Yeah? Don't simply hold on to one role and think that that's all you are. We are more than that. And not just the roles that we currently play, because there are so much more things we can do. The last thing I want to highlight is that besides the fact that these roles are changing, day by day, how you play these roles also matter. You can choose to go to work happily, or you can choose to go to work grumpily. As people always say, 9 to 5, do it happily, also 9 to 5. Don't do it happily, also 9 to 5. Might as well do it happily, Yeah, might as well do it happily. So each of these roles, in turn, has that emotional state. Yeah, the emotional state, which is another axis. Yeah, you can choose to be any of these roles happily, or you can be disgruntled. Question is, what role should we play? Is there a specific role that we are supposed to play? Yeah? And how should we play it? If you want happiness, true happiness, then you should always consider what is the role that is suitable at this point in time with respect to the conditions present. When children come to me, do I act as a shifu, who is high and mighty? No, in fact, one should never act in that way, regardless of who comes. Yeah, but when kids come to me, yeah, then I will relate to them in a slightly different way. Yeah, oftentimes I will kneel down and hello, yeah, because that's the role that is suitable. Yeah, that's the role that is suitable. So choose wisely, choose with compassion. Yeah, choose the role that is relevant to that moment, that will bring about maximum welfare and benefit, not just for yourself, but for yourself and others. It's 9:30. If you have any questions, you should yes. Yes. 什么？你自己问自己咯，你是什么？ So, instead of me giving you an answer, you ask yourself, "What? 你是什么？你是什么东西？你是什么东西？你想一想，你们想一想 ，think about it. Yes. Is there anything that's permanent? Simple answer: no. No. Nothing is permanent. All qualifier, huh? All things that is conditioned is impermanent. Things that are conditioned is impermanent. Okay? Huh? The Buddha Dharma. The Buddha Dharma comprises two parts. One which is the teachings that he gave, that part is impermanent. The truth that he pointed to is not fabricated, it's not constructed. That part is beyond permanent and impermanent. Chima. The Buddha's teaching points to a truth. The truth describes certain attributes of this world. As long as there's this world, then those truths are relevant. If there's no more this world, then those truths are irrelevant. To that extent, it is impermanent. Because is there a chance for this world to disappear? Well, if there's the chance for this world to disappear, then those truths don't apply. But as long as this world exists, then those truths apply. Now, related to that is what I started this when we started with this. I started off today's session highlighting the purpose of the teachings, which is to end suffering, to help us to see things clearly so that we can overcome whatever attachments we have. So, while this teaching applies in all aspects, the full spectrum, but like your brother's question now, this is a valid question, which I've given the answer, but the first step is to consider the areas of our attachment first. So, for example, what we have gone through here, I hope is more relevant to what we go through on a daily basis. Is it more relevant? It is, isn't it? But it doesn't mean that the teaching on laksa is less relevant. Okay, in some ways maybe, but the principle is the same. So, can you apply the same principle down to molecules? You can. Down to atoms, you can. But maybe you go down to boson particle, there's no way for you to currently go and prove whether boson particles can be split or not. Agree? Yeah? But the question here is, are you attached to boson particles? I hope not. None of us can be attached because we cannot see it directly. Yeah. So this involves the application of the teachings, which is on the level that our attachment exists. Yeah? Which is why I bring us all the way up to this level. Yeah? To relate to the teachings itself. Yeah? So that we look at this level of our identity. Oh. So have you gotten the answer? What? 你是什么? Yes. Yeah. 对。回去画一画这个图，然后呢，可以的话，就是把每一个小细节画多一层，至少画1层、2层、3层，画了之后你再去思维一下，再去思维一下，So draw the 3 levels, the first level, second level, and then the third level, and then do some reflection. Yeah, have a closer look at who we are. Okay? Yes.
So just now earlier you said emptiness, condition is impermanent, right?
Yes.
So if like say Shariputra, he listened to the statement and then he gained enlightenment.
Yes.
The conditions was right for him to gain enlightenment.
Yes. So is the enlightenment is impermanent? No, it's not impermanent. But through the dependent arising conditions, the enlightenment is not something created. What happened is you give this process of removal of ignorance a name called enlightenment. That's all that happened. So it was not something created. Enlightenment is not, it cannot be created. Let me give you an example. This cup. Do we have a marker pen? Whiteboard marker preferably. Be careful, some of you may get enlightened. If you are not ready to be enlightened, close your eyes. So this cup here, okay, maybe, let me see. Okay, so now the cup is dirty. Correct? Say yes. Yes. And now it's stained. And hopefully when I wipe across, it will go away. Okay. Yeah. So now there's no more stain. This absence of stain, if we give it another name, we call it enlightened. So the absence of stain is to be enlightened. That's why it's called nirvana, which is extinguishing. Nirodha is the removal, the absence of the stain. Yeah. Now, if there's no more cup, there's also no stain. This is called Mahaparinibbana. Yeah? But the absence of stain, okay, is not the cup. Yeah? It's not the cup. And did you create the absence of stain? You didn't, it cannot be created. Yeah, it's just the absence of stain. So the moment we give it a name, it's very easy for us to think of it as a separate thing. But the absence of stain is not the same thing as the cup, but it's not separated from the cup also. Because when you say, there's a cup that is clean, You must have a cup before you can say that the cup is cleaner. But yet it's not a cup. When I did this reflection, I had a, this is so strange. Because this is such an everyday thing, you know. Yeah? And every day when we wash our cutlery, you think about it, the cleanliness of the cutlery that we wash is not a part, nor is it the thing itself. Isn't it? Yeah? And it is because of this that we say that the enlightenment, yeah, is not fabricated. Yeah? Because it's not something separate that you created. At this point in time, this is still here. We are still not enlightened. Yes? Very good question. Because in a previous cup, there was a stain. So assuming this is the previous cup, but how come there's this stain? Because in the yet previous cup, there was also a stain. Yeah. So that old stain conditioned this new stain. Yeah. There are three taints that the Buddha mentioned. The taint of being, the taint of sensual desire, and a taint of ignorance. Yeah. These three conditions the new arising of ignorance. Since beginningless time. Huh? The what?
A child would have you from a previous life?
Yes, all sentient beings. One day, through the practice, you see clearly, no more stain. You stop drawing, no more stain. Kampai. How anybody get enlightened? No. Okay. Yes. You. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So you see, the Buddhist teaching is kind of like it's a bit like if a person is overweight, but don't realize that he's overweight, or don't mind being overweight, then nobody can force that person to go and try out the different slimming techniques. You know what I mean? Yeah. That this is one thing that I learned over the years. If a person 胖子不知肥，不要叫他减肥。So it's important to first let the person realize this. Yeah. However, for some, especially if you're talking about computer games, two categories. Those who are teens and below, that means below age of 21, a young person. Then those who are adults. If an adult is addicted to games, what can the parents do? It's like if your child is already 20 over years old and is addicted to games, we can advise, we can, try to help the person. But if the person is just like that, this is not a time to discipline. Yeah, a bit tough. Sometimes through the friends, they may knock some sense into them. But if your child is below, let's say, 13 years old, that is a time to enforce discipline. That's a time to enforce discipline. From maybe, 11, 12, all the way to late teens, it becomes increasingly more and more difficult. But even then, just a few days ago, one of the family came for a follow-up session. I think it was the same family that I mentioned before. And so I advised them, well, you have to set some boundaries and have some rules in place. So one of the things was that the child should not be playing with the games, with the handphone. But the key thing is that the parents must decide. It's not up to Sifu to decide. If you want me to decide, give me your son or daughter. Then I decide. Because it's not my son or daughter, I cannot decide for you. Because in the end, if I decide, your son or daughter may respect me but not respect you. So after deciding, they went back. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, the other day when they came back, look at me, I had to tell something, Sifu. What happened? About 3 days after we met, our son found the handphone. Found it inside one of the drawer because the lock was spoiled. So he was able to have access to it. So I was like, okay, so what's the problem? So he has been using it since then, for the past like 2 over weeks. And I was like, so are you telling me that in your whole house there's no other drawer that has a proper lock? And the husband and wife go like, we couldn't do anything. I was like, so where's the phone today? My son kept it. Your son managed to keep it from you, but not you from him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if your child is below 16 even, or below 18, seriously, if parents refuse to or somehow cannot bring themselves to just, like set the boundary and say, no, I keep it, you don't play with it. Yeah? Or if you want, you can have a hybrid, okay, you can only play during weekends or something. Again, where should you draw the line? It's up to you. But you have to realize this, where you draw the line will plant the seed for the consequences. If you don't want the current consequences, A plus B, you get C. If you don't want C, you must change A or B. If you don't want to change A or B, you must accept C. Simple as that. Yeah. Most parents, my child is a good child. The way I relate to them is correct, but the outcome is wrong. Well, if your child is perfect and the way you are doing is perfect, then this should be perfect. It's simple as that. Yeah. So depending on whether the person you are talking about is below 21 or above 21, I know. But yeah, so but the same principle applies. Yeah, the same principle applies. Yeah. Last note on gambling. By the time it becomes a habit and the person becomes an adult, it becomes that much more difficult. Yeah. Huh? No, a lot of things has to be taught and inculcated at a young age. Yeah, but unfortunately, not all parents are like that. But okay, so you see, so this is the state of denial. To be very honest, some parents are not all. They keep on insisting that the way they relate to the child is not wrong. And then they say the child is okay. And I say, oh no, actually there's some other factor here, D, the external influence. This is something that no one can stop, You can try to limit, you can try to mitigate it. But if we are convinced that this is perfect, then we are basically saying, no, the whole way is wrong. My child and me, we have no problem. But I can tell you, I have counseled so many families, a few telltale signs that the child since young have never served anyone before. If the child at a young age, from birth until teens, has never ever had to receive any instructions from the parent to do something trivial like mop the floor, wash the toilet, do your own laundry, whatever, then the child is brought up in this way, how can you expect a child to listen to you after that? It's a very, to me, it's a very clear thing. But some parents are having cognitive dissonance. They don't see that there's a relation, and they just keep on blaming it to external factors. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, but who knows? Yeah, but so far, the ones who come to me for counseling, depending on the age, if the child is already in the 20s, in most cases I look at the parents, I'm like, what do you expect me to do? You know, you have 20 over years of backlog and you want me to just give you one magic formula. Some of them even expect me to just tell them the answer over the email. I'm like, the least you could do is come down and have a chat, you know. Yeah, I would love if I have the magic bullet that can just solve people's problem, but it doesn't work that way. Yeah, yeah, and I don't deny that there are external factors. Yeah, but if we cannot, don't take this personally. If we cannot see that there's something that has to change here, then it's going to be very hard to change this. Yeah. For those who have encountered yourself or people around you who face this, yeah, maybe we can. I'd be happy to sit down with you all to have more discussion. Yeah, because I think increasingly this is becoming a major problem. Yeah. Well, until next week, go back and do your homework. Complete this chart here. Okay, complete this chart here. And then we'll continue from there.
Let us now thank our Shifu with 3 sadhus.
Let's do dedication first.
Okay.